Your speech is here. Our speaker this year, Bill Roedy, has an extraordinary accumulation of life accomplishments and adventures. He has degrees from West Point and Harvard University. A career officer in the U.S. Army, he received a Bronze Star for service in the Vietnam War and commanded 3 NATO nuclear missile bases in Italy in his tenure. Today, he is known to the world as chairman and chief executive of MTV Networks International. His multimedia business brings us MTV, Nickelodeon, and Comedy Central, the most popular media. I really love that on his official biography, squeezed between serving on the board of the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences and the International Advisory Board of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, is the Board of Trustees for the American School in London, where he has served for more than 15 years. But Bill Roedy also serves on the board of directors of Doctors of the World. And here's where his story becomes even more interesting. What you might be surprised to learn is that he directs the resources from MTV to the Staying Alive global campaign that fights epidemics around the world in the hardest hit areas. The foundation supports HIV/AIDS work and climate change, also the cessation of knife violence and nutrition programs worldwide. He even sponsors Turn Off the TV Day because he encourages young people to play and to read books, and he creates award-winning documentaries, concerts, and public service announcements to broadcasters around the world for free on these topics. Bill Roedy's passion for social justice is front and center in his life. He has addressed the General Session of the United Nations on 4 separate occasions and was recognized this year by Secretary General Ban Ki-moon as the United Nations Global Citizen of the Year. On top of all of this, he is the loving father of 4 beautiful children. Please help me welcome this year's graduation speaker, Bill Roedy.
I'm moving, sorry. Thank you, Mrs. Hester. Oh my gosh, what an introduction, thank you. In the music world, we say, I am not worthy. Congratulations, class of 2010. What an amazing group you are. And this is definitely a rock and roll crowd, I can tell, by the way you responded to the music, and boy, that music, it brought chills. All I can say is, again, an MTV world, heavy rotation, and I can deliver that. So we've had terrific speakers. Oh my gosh, Samir and Anna, it's actually quite daunting to follow such great speakers, but I was reminded that you too once opened for the Spice Girls. And when I listened to Corinne, I don't know, I'm reminded that Jimi Hendrix once opened for the Monkees. That's for the benefit of the parents. You're Jimi Hendrix, by the way, just so there's no confusion. This is an impressive group, and I want to say a word about the building because the personality of this class, I think, fits very well with the history of this amazing building. We are in the Great Hall. Gandhi spoke here, de Gaulle, the Dalai Lama spoke here. Winston Churchill gave a speech that said, "Victory is certain, victory is near," in 1945. It was also the venue for the inaugural General Assembly of the United Nations, with only 51 countries at the time, in 1946. After 2 devastating wars, the United Nations was set up, and the first Secretary General and the first Security Council was actually elected right in this room. Now, all that only to be topped by Andrew Lloyd Webber's father, who was a musical director here for 24 years. So we have leadership, we have global thinking, and we have creativity, which I think matches the personality of you perfectly. Now, this is a very special day, and it really is a great honor for me to share it with you. I have tremendous respect for ASL. It's an extraordinary institution. It's run like a tight ship, and I was speaking to a parent yesterday, but in addition to being a tight ship, it has a heart, and it has a deep, deep soul. And it's a little bit like any great school. When you're a parent and you go to a cocktail party or dinner, you say, hey, great shrimp. By the way, did I mention that my kids go to ASL? You feel very proud. Now, Corinne had it right. I first became acquainted 15 years ago when I gave this very same commencement speech. I was so inspired. I didn't have any kids at the time. I was so inspired that we decided to have children so they could come to this school. Maybe not quite, but you get the idea. So I promised the kids I wouldn't mention them, so I won't, but they're up there. So yes, 15 years later, we have 2 in lower, and we have 2 in middle, and 1 just graduated from middle on the way to senior school. Which actually explains why I will be working long past normal retirement. But hey, what better investment is this? What better investment is you? There is no better ROI, I promise you. And actually, one of the best things that I enjoy is the school drop-off on Loudon Road, where I see the latest models of Ferraris, Maseratis, and all the big SUVs. Sometimes I actually forget to say goodbye to the kids. Now, there are some really very important people here today, which I want to acknowledge, and they are all part of this critical success, and they deserve immense credit. It is a team effort, there's no question, starting with Corinne Hester, heads up the school, Dr. Paul Richards, their incredible staff inspiring us, running the school expertly, dedicated teachers and tutors who I've had experience with, constantly raising our standards and challenging you, including SLD, an amazing college admissions office, who, by the way, promises me they'll do better next year than the 100% acceptance rate that they had this year. An impressive group of trustees with our chair, Lori Fields. Well represented today also as parents. How did you get such good seats, by the way? They dressed up today. And very importantly, your parents. Now, they love you the most, even more than your dog. They helped you with homework. They did the school runs. They attended what seems like thousands of student conferences, back-to-school coffees. They are with you all the way. And hey, they even learned how to text instead of calling you. Now, this is a little bittersweet because you are saying goodbye. So today, after the ceremony, say a special thank you. Hug them a little bit longer than you normally do. Try to remember all their advice, all those times when you weren't listening. Tell them you truly, truly appreciate them, and that you will send money home when you get established in your career. Okay, but today it's really about you. This is all about you, the class of 2010. This is your day, and a celebration of all that you have achieved. Incredibly. Academic excellence, sense of community, character, and leadership, which is particularly strong with this class. You are an immensely talented group. And as Corinne mentioned, you are diverse, you're creative, you're international. Each one of you has a story. You are on your way to be on your own soon, but believe me, you have the best possible preparation to go on. And now you must internalize what you've learned at school and at home, importantly. And if you do that, you'll easily take the next step with unlimited success, I am convinced. Now, before I share some of my personal lessons, let me briefly tell you how I got here. And actually, I'm not sure how I got here today, at least on this momentous occasion. It might be, I thought, this beast job that I have for MTV, which I'm producing very thought-provoking, meaningful, highly intelligent programs like Jersey Shore, with Snooki and The Situation. Hey, it's all about GTL. Who can tell me GTL? Gym, tan, and laundry. Maybe it's South Park, or maybe it's, I don't know, my favorite, Beavis and Butthead. But the family said, no, that's not it. So then I thought, okay, maybe it's because of my attempt to allow wine at the prom, which didn't work, or maybe lobbying for a snow day or two, which again didn't work. So I thought about it and I finally concluded, well, I was simply available. So then what? Being very nervous, well, I did what any of us would do in a similar situation for this very scary mission. I immediately reached out to Jamie Cook. Anyone who spends his free time as a DJ has to be cool. When I asked him for advice, he said simply, you know, Mr. Roedy, don't try to be charming, intelligent, insightful. Instead, just be yourself. So, like many of you, I caught some of the award ceremony on Wednesday, and I learned what's really important to you, the class of 2010. Congo lines, German techno, be a child of the universe, keep a sense of humor, how to control your wind. Dr. Richards said it best. It's good we don't invite the lower school. Don't do it. But you know, Jamie also said it was about friends. And how true is that? I just had dinner with my best friend from high school 40 years later. Now, my career path can best be summed up as, unconventional, unpredictable, and unplanned. At one level, it's about missiles to music, the Iron Curtain to the red carpet. I grew up in Miami, had a single mom, lots of sisters, and a school where it was all about survival rather than academia. My biggest challenge was trying to pick weaker opponents for the after-school fights, which I usually lost. Somehow I got into West Point, the only school we could afford. Actually, it's free. And after graduating, I had a 5-year commitment, stayed for 7, went airborne, went Ranger, signed up for Vietnam to experience combat. I was way too young to think that that was a bad idea. Followed by 5 years of commanding nuclear missile bases. Don't try this at home. Mostly in northern Italy as part of NATO during the Cold War. Now, I've always had a love for television, its power to inform and entertain, so I left the Army and somehow got into Harvard Business School, and then tried to convince employers it was quite natural to transition from combated missiles to media. I couldn't convince anybody. So I joined a brand new company called HBO, and I helped build HBO, and at the time what was known as the cable TV, into a leading media forum. Now that didn't even exist when I was in high school or even in college. It's a little bit like an internet startup today. And it reminds me, so well-spoken, sung Green Day earlier, it's something unpredictable, but in the end, it's right. I hope you have the time of your life. Now, while heading up the business side of the West Coast for HBO, I had an opportunity. So I took another risk, and this was a bigger one. And that was to move to London, start a global business of MTV outside the US, initially in Europe, which had no cable and had no satellite TV. Starting with one channel, over the years we have built this into 200 channels, including MTV, Nickelodeon, Comedy, and 20 other brands. We're in 160 countries. We have 30 different languages, an audience of 2 billion people. We have hotels, theme parks, even cruise ships. So it's been a wild ride. It's been fun, but it's not true that my job consists of, choosing the music, picking the VJs, debating politics with Jon Stewart, and hanging out in the south of France with SpongeBob and Shakira. Actually, it's been a lot of hard work and a lot of mistakes, and I've made almost every one of them. Now, I started with 3 ideas. First, be creative, have relentless distribution. Dire Straits said it, I want my MTV. Well, I wanted MTV in every household, and I didn't quit. Second, a local strategy with content that truly respects and reflects local culture. First time this was ever done, combining a global strategy with local content, a belief that the flow of culture has become a two-way street, not just American in. It's not just about importing culture in, instead it's about reflecting culture out. Whether it's playing Urdu in India, bringing Kwaito from Kenya to the UK, or having a call to prayer on MTV's Muslim channels in Pakistan and Indonesia. It's about media being a vehicle for culture exchange, which actually brings us together, breaks down barriers, and promotes understanding. You two said it best. We are one, but we are different. We are different, but we are one. Thirdly, making a difference with issues that connect with our audience for the greater good. We have dozens of initiatives from climate change, human trafficking, HIV/AIDS. We work closely with the UN, governments, and NGOs. Our most visible fight has been with HIV/AIDS, one of the worst epidemics in recorded history. Our efforts are under the umbrella of staying alive. What's staying alive? Well, it's about staying alive, and it's about saving lives, and it's about living life positively with or without HIV. Now, building this business has been, for me, a rare privilege. What's not to love? You're surrounded by youth. You're surrounded by youth activism. You're surrounded by music and all that positive power and energy that goes with it. I get to hear artists like Nasir bin Alu Dara Jones, or Nas, who raps, "If the truth is told, the youth can grow. Read more, learn more, change the globe." Okay, you get the point. Now, I've also been lucky to cross paths with history, music, and media behind the Iron Curtain, helping to break down barriers like the Berlin Wall, be a part of tremendous change in China, India, the Middle East, and Russia, which for me, I guess, connects the dots and explains why missiles, for me, went to music and the Iron Curtain went to the red carpet. I was able to see firsthand that global music and culture can be more powerful than missiles, especially with uniting people. Back in high school, when I was sitting in that chair, I never imagined I would meet over 30 heads of state, from Fidel Castro to Barack Obama, Nobel Peace Prize winners from Nelson Mandela to the Dalai Lama. I've had some unusual encounters along the way, going from 50 Cent on the red carpet to the president of Korea the next day. In Shanghai, awarding the Wonder Girls Korean group and Jackie Chang, to being awarded by Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, also Korean, in New York the next day. Singing with Bono at a karaoke bar in Tokyo until sunrise. Paying homage to the mayor of Mecca in Saudi Arabia for permission to launch MTV Arabia. Staging the first ever Russian award show in the Kremlin with Pamela Anderson. Washing down fried scorpions with snake blood, Indiana Jones style, with cable operators from Mongolia. So my office is not always in the office, and a career path is not always predictable. Life is not always predictable. Adaptability is the key. There were no music channels or cable TV when I was in high school or college, nor were they ever even imagined. The same will be true for you 10 years from now. Now, no doubt, on this day and lots of days going forward, you'll get lots of advice. Some may actually be useful, some not. So I put together a top 10 list, very fast-paced, MTV style, for short attention spans. Some of this will be useful, some not. Okay, here we go. Love what you do what you love, be passionate. Take risks, mistakes are okay, especially when you're younger, because the stakes are lower. Work hard, you can make your own luck. Big believer. Push yourself. Hard work trumps raw talent. Mozart practiced music every day. Beyonce and Lady Gaga work it hard every day. Stay international, think global, travel a lot. It's actually a cheap education with no homework. Stay curious. You will never grow old if you keep learning. Learn how to communicate in concise terms. You know, the world is compressed, especially for time. Never accept no for an answer, and never, never, never give up, which was Winston Churchill's shortest speech ever. Stand up for tolerance and what you know is right. Be brave, the world will test you. Don't always hang out with people who are like you. Choose diversity, it will make you better. Keep character, service, leadership always close to your heart. Serve with integrity for the greater good. The world needs it. When I met with some of you last month, I was impressed with how you already knew most of that, especially this last point of character, service, and leadership. You truly appreciated your sense of community and your service to others. Now, you're leaving a great experience to go on to a greater journey. Graduating from ASL is a privilege. With great education comes, however, great responsibility. Speak for those with no voice. Speak for those with less opportunity. Be a leader. Set the example for others. Your generation faces big challenges: economic weakness, environment and climate change, wars, disease like HIV, hunger and poverty. But this, in turn, presents tremendous opportunity for leadership. You have the power of youth. Use it wisely. The world needs innovation. It needs creative problem solving. Just look at the Gulf. Just look at the Gulf right now. So let me end by saying, go forward. Go forward from today. Make us proud. Make your teachers proud. Make your parents proud. Most importantly, make yourself proud. And, as we look into your beautiful faces, with 18 years of images passing by, we see you as our children, and now young adults, loaded with energy, talent, and goodness. The world sees you as the future. The world sees you as hope for the future. So remember, we know what you can do. Fulfill your destiny. Remember to have fun on the way. We will always be with you. No matter where your challenges take you, there is absolutely no doubt in our mind, with your strength and your commitment, you will be successful and you will make this world a better place. So with that, congratulations. Now let's get those hard-earned diplomas. Thank you.